As we talk about Operation Hope in a minute and the work that you're doing over there, I'm a big fan because financial literacy is at the center of that, and that's something that even I'm still educating myself on because I didn't grow up in a household that mastered that. I grew up in a household that maybe talked about it, but we didn't master it, and so I find myself playing catch up at times. But thankful for brothers like yourself who's able to help me steer that as well as other people. But as we have this conversation, right, we're right in the middle smack of National Black Business Month. When you hear that theme that month, it's still not a big theme yet, but when you hear it, what comes to mind when somebody says National Black Business Month?
Everything. The Freedmen's Bank of 1865
Yeah.
was chartered to teach freed slaves about money by President Abraham Lincoln, and then went on to be run by a black businessman named Frederick Douglass, who we know to be an abolitionist, and I know to be a businessman who owns $6 million worth of real estate in Baltimore, Maryland, and rented it out to working class blacks, which gave him the financial freedom to be a social justice leader, and to pursue civil rights, and to run the Freedmen's Bank. Unfortunately, the bank was gamed and destroyed after Lincoln's assassination, but it was located across the street from the White House, showing how strategically important it was, across the street from Treasury and across from the White House. There's a lot of places in Washington to put things. To put it right across from Treasury and the White House is putting a marker down. And that bank, along with 40 acres, January 1865, the mule, February 1865, the bank, March 1865, the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, April of 1865, would suggest that there's unfinished work. And to Dr. King's last book, Where Do We Go From Here? The Light on the Hill is a factory producing entrepreneurs and small business owners in this 21st century, growing this economy that we are uniquely positioned to do because we built this country to start with. Literally, the most valuable asset in this country was us. We built it for free, and so we're not. You're not talking about lazy people here.
Mm-hmm.
You're not talking about unequipped people here. I mean, they brought us from Africa because we all halfway around the world because we had a unique talent for that era, which was agricultural genius. We understood how to take dead soil and bring it back to life and to work in any condition. That helped business. That created business. That created the first millionaire in America who traded cotton out of New York because of what we were doing. We're just on the other end. We're on the wrong end of the transaction, and now we want to make wrong right again. So to me, this is a historical month, a historical moment, and I hope this doesn't come off wrong, but I'm going to say it anyway. We really need now just a what I call a Black Jewish business plan. And what I mean by that is my Jewish brothers and sisters were targeted for assassination, specifically in World War II. But because they had the 5 pillars of success before that and the 5 pillars after that, as much education can shove down your throat, understanding the math, what we're talking about here, how capitalism works, business works, wealth creation works, family structure and resiliency, self-esteem and confidence, role models and environment, and the right kind of role models, they punch right through that adversary and stabilize on the other side. What would happen if we'd had those tools? Because they were denied from us. How would that be beneficial to the nation? And I think the answer to that is all lights come on when you do that. Everybody wins when we prosper. So the story that has not been told, the lesson that was never taught, and as a result of that, the road that was never rode on, is this Black business creation at scale lesson. Because most of our businesses, as you know, are self-employment projects. Most of them are single. They're solopreneurs, if you want to call it that. That's even probably a compliment. So what would happen if you had businesses that employed? I mean, I employ 450 people.
Yeah.
What would happen if there was a bunch of me running around?
Yeah.
What would that do to community? I mean, what would that do to network? What would that do to vendor contracts and things like that?
Well, according to the Brookings Institute, it'll take up a community, right? Because 2%, I believe, that they reported out that are only Black employer businesses, and that's a problem because if you have more Black employer businesses, it brings prosperity to entire neighborhoods.
This is a radical movement of common sense.
Yeah.
That's what this conversation is. This is a
Yeah.
radical movement of common sense. This is just look. We're a 1.4, $1.5 trillion consumer spending force. That's nice, but that's not that dog don't hunt. That's not sustainable.
Hmm.
Like what we need is wealth creation. There's a difference, as you know, Jabari. There's a difference between making money and building wealth.
Yeah.
You make money during the day. You build wealth in your sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That means
So
I need to get some more sleep. That's what I do. I need to get some more rest.
well, that's where compounding is, man. That's
Mhm.
look. The only problem with this conversation is that it has a beginning and an end because it needs to go on forever. This is the memo that we all need to get. This once look. What's the entertainment business? It's a business. What's the sports business? It's a business.
Mhm.
So we're obsessing on these two areas as an example, but what we forgot is that it's a sports business. It's the entertainment business. It's
Business.
a business of. Once to quote my friend Quincy Jones, if you think you're in the music business and you don't own licensing rights, publishing rights, writing rights, some kind of rights, you're actually not in the music business. You're just a temporary performer.
Hmm. Yeah.
Drop the mic.
Drop the mic.
So,
Yeah.
so what would happen if all of us would create an LLC, a business? We buy a home, rehab it, and live in it. Use equity, buy two more homes over time, rehab it, and rent it. Boom.
Yeah.
Think what that does to tax base in the neighborhood. Think about what that does to your own net worth. Now you go from not just making money to building wealth, generational wealth. Think about what that does to neighborhood revitalization and stabilization and jobs. Because now I can hire a plumber, a heater, somebody who does a heating technician, landscapers, roofers, painters, which is what I do, by the way, through my Promise Homes company, a few $1 million every year in contracts to minority vendors. Well, what would happen if we all became a minority vendor purveyor? I mean, the ripple effects here, or just from that one little act,
Yeah.
which is business, would be extraordinary. And 41% of us own a home compared to 75% of our white counterparts. That delta of 30% is hurtful to the nation and hurtful to us. The easiest way to build wealth is, as example, owning a home for yourself, a home to rent. We have an affordable housing crisis in America. So how do you take what Forbes does? This is what business people do. You find a problem, and you find a solution to that problem. That's called business or entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
We need that at scale.